shadows of Kashyyyk, Chewbacca's early days. Chapter 1. The Rosh's Apprentice. The colossal Rosha trees of Kashyyyk pierced the misty sky, their gargantuan trunks and sprawling branches forming the living foundation of Wookiee civilization. High above the shadowy forest floor, nestled within one of the many arboreal metropolises, a young Chewbacca stood before the towering figure of Gracchus, the venerated Wookiee engineer.
So, you believe you possess the metal to become my apprentice, youngling?
Gracchus's voice reverberated like distant thunder, his penetrating gaze dissecting the lanky Wookiee before him. Chewbacca, scarcely a century old, squared his shoulders and met the elder's scrutiny with unwavering determination.
Indeed, Master Gracchus, I've always harbored an affinity for mending and creating. My deepest desire is to absorb every iota of knowledge about our technology.
Gracchus's withered hand stroked his graying fur, each strand a testament to decades of mechanical expertise. After an interminable moment that seemed to stretch into eternity for Chewbacca, the old engineer's stern countenance softened imperceptibly.
Very well. Your tutelage commences forthwith. Follow in my wake.
With astonishing agility belying his advanced years, Gracchus guided Chewbacca through a labyrinthine network of wooden walkways and swaying rope bridges. They descended several levels, the air growing dense with the pungent aroma of machinery and lubricants. At last, they arrived at a vast chamber, teeming with an array of intricate equipment.
Behold, young Chewbacca, the pulsating heart of our city. These systems sustain our people's existence amidst the Roshers. Your inaugural task is to comprehend every component, every conduit, every circuit. Only then can you truly fathom how to maintain and enhance them.
Chewbacca's eyes widened, drinking in the complex web of machinery before him. Holographic displays flickered with cascading data streams, while colossal gears and pulleys operated in harmonious symphony to power the city's vital functions.
It's utterly magnificent. Where shall I initiate my learning?
With the rudiments, naturally. Come, allow me to demonstrate the calibration of atmospheric sensors.
For the ensuing hours, Gracchus shepherded Chewbacca through the fundamentals of the city's systems. The young Wookiee's mind raced to absorb every nuance, his hands eager to work in tandem with his mentors.
Not an abysmal start for your inaugural day. You possess a keen eye for minutiae, but guard against hubris. Tomorrow we shall grapple with the lift mechanisms.
As the day's lessons concluded, Chewbacca found himself alone in the chamber, tasked with a routine maintenance check. His fur still tingled with exhilaration from the wealth of knowledge he had acquired. As he navigated from console to console, his sharp eyes detected an anomaly, a panel that appeared slightly askew. Curiosity piqued, Chewbacca carefully pried open the panel. Concealed behind it, nestled among a tangle of antiquated wires, sat a small cylindrical object. It was clearly incongruous with the current system, its design more intricate and somehow ancient.
By the sacred roots of the Roshers.
With gentle hands, Chewbacca extracted the enigmatic device. It emitted a faint hum as he rotated it, revealing a series of unfamiliar glyphs etched into its surface. Instinct told him this was no ordinary piece of equipment. Casting a furtive glance to ensure his solitude, Chewbacca swiftly secreted the object into a pouch on his utility belt. His heart raced with a cocktail of excitement and trepidation. He knew the proper course would be to report the find to Gracchus, but a deeper instinct urged him to investigate it independently.
I'll merely examine it more closely tonight. Surely no harm can come of that.
As Chewbacca completed his assigned tasks and prepared to depart, his mind whirled with possibilities. Little did he know this seemingly insignificant discovery would be the catalyst for a journey that would alter his life and the destiny of Kashyyyk irrevocably. Days melted into weeks, and weeks coalesced into months. Chewbacca's apprenticeship under Gracchus intensified, each dawn heralding new challenges and marvels. The young Wookiee's innate aptitude flourished under the elder's stern but effective tutelage.
You've developed quite the deft touch, lad. Now, let's observe you realigning the solar collectors without singeing your fur this time.
Chewbacca's massive hands, once ungainly with tools designed for more delicate work, now moved with surprising finesse. He balanced precariously on a narrow branch, the vertiginous drop to the forest floor, obscured by tendrils of morning mist.
I've got it under control, Master. Just need to... There! Woo!
With a satisfying click, the misaligned panels snapped into place. Instantaneously, the surrounding foliage illuminated with a soft azure glow as energy flowed freely once more.
Commendable work. You're assimilating knowledge at an impressive rate, but don't allow it to inflate your ego. Come, we have malfunctioning comm array in the eastern sector that demands our attention.
As they traversed the intricate network of bridges and platforms that interwove the treetop city, Chewbacca's mind wandered to the mysterious device he had secreted away. Each night, he had devoted hours to deciphering its enigmatic symbols and unraveling its purpose, making incremental progress. Their path took them through the heart of the Wookiee settlement. Chewbacca marveled at the seamless integration of nature and technology. Homes and workshops were carved directly into the massive tree trunks, while advanced machinery hummed in harmony with the forest's natural rhythms.
Master Gracchus, how did our ancestors first learn to build such wonders without damaging the washers?
As Gracchus spoke, they arrived at the malfunctioning comm array. The usually sleek and silent device now emitted an ominous, grinding noise, its dish askew.
Now, Chewbacca, what's your assessment of the situation?
Chewbacca circled the array, his keen eyes taking in every detail. He placed a hand on the housing, feeling the irregular vibrations.
The primary gyroscope is off kilter, causing misalignment, but there's something else. The power fluctuations aren't consistent with a simple mechanical failure.
Impressed, Gracchus nodded his approval.
Excellent observation. How would you proceed? How would you proceed?
I'd start by stabilizing the gyroscope, then run a deep diagnostic on the power systems. There might be a cascading failure we're not seeing.
Without waiting for confirmation, Chewbacca set to work. His hands moved with practiced ease, adjusting, tightening, and recalibrating. As he delved deeper into the array's inner workings, he encountered an unexpected obstacle.
Master, look at this. The main power coupling, it's completely fused. But the alloy, I've never seen anything like it.
Gracchus leaned in, his eyes widening with recognition and a hint of concern.
By the ancestors, this shouldn't be here. This technology, it's not of Kashyyyk.
Chewbacca's mind raced, connecting this discovery with the mysterious device he had found. Could they be related? Before he could voice his thoughts, a distant alarm shattered the moment.
The city's main power core. I'm on phone. Quickly, Chewbacca, we must go.
The alarm's wail grew louder as Chewbacca and Gracchus hurried towards the city's main power core. Wookiees of all ages scrambled in organized chaos, their roars of concern echoing through the treetops.
Faster, lad. We can't let the core destabilize.
They arrived at a massive chamber, its center dominated by a pulsating orb of energy. Arcs of electricity danced erratically across its surface, threatening to break free of their containment.
By the sacred trees, what's happening?
The core's losing cohesion. If it ruptures, half the city will plummet to the forest floor.
Without hesitation, Gracchus plunged into the throng of engineers frantically working to stabilize the core. Chewbacca followed, his mind racing to apply everything he'd learned.
Master, the auxiliary coolant systems, they're not responding.
Then we'll have to reroute power manually. Chewbacca, take the eastern conduit. I'll handle the west. We need perfect synchronization.
Chewbacca's hands flew over the controls, his earlier nervousness replaced by focused determination. As he worked, he noticed something odd in the power fluctuations.
This pattern, it's similar to the comm array malfunction. Could they be connected?
There was no time to ponder. The core's instability reached a critical point. Chewbacca locked eyes with Gracchus across the chamber.
Now, Chewbacca, reroute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, now.
In perfect unison, Master and apprentice executed the power transfer. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, gradually, the wild energy arcs subsided. The core's glow steadied, returning to its normal, soothing pulse. A collective roar of relief echoed through the chamber. Gracchus approached Chewbacca, pride evident in his eyes.
Well done, my apprentice. You've proven your worth today.
Thank you, Master, but I can't shake the feeling that this wasn't a random malfunction.
What do you mean?
Our fluctuations, they were too precise. Almost like a coded sequence. Almost like a coded sequence.
Gracchus's expression darkened, his voice dropping to a low growl.
Your instincts serve you well, Chewbacca. Come with me. There's something you need to see.
Gracchus led Chewbacca deeper into the heart of the city, to a chamber Chewbacca had never seen before. Ancient tapestries adorned the walls, depicting scenes of Wookiee history unknown to the young apprentice.
What I'm about to show you is known only to a select few. Our people have guarded this secret for generations.
The elder Wookiee activated a hidden mechanism, revealing a small, shimmering hologram. It depicted a device strikingly similar to the one Chewbacca had found.
This artifact is part of our most closely guarded technology. It contains knowledge from the earliest days of our civilization, possibly even before we settled in the Roshers.
Chewbacca's heart raced. Should he reveal his discovery before he could decide? Gracchus continued.
But it's not complete. Pieces of it were lost, hidden, or stolen over the centuries. And now, it seems someone is actively searching for them.
Malfunctions? They're probes? Someone's testing our defenses?
Precisely, and I fear this is only the beginning.
Chewbacca's mind whirled. The weight of the artifact in his pouch seemed to grow heavier. He knew he should tell Gracchus about his discovery, but something held him back. Fear, curiosity, or perhaps a deeper instinct that this knowledge was meant for him to uncover.
From this day forward, your training intensifies. We must prepare for whatever comes next.
As they left the secret chamber, Chewbacca's path seemed to stretch before him, filled with both promise and peril. He had entered this apprenticeship seeking to understand the technology that sustained his people. Now he found himself at the heart of a mystery that could reshape Kashyyyk's future. Chapter 2. The Cosmic Tinkerer. The treetop city of Ruvagro hummed with activity as Wookiees went about their daily lives. High above the forest floor, Chewbacca's nimble fingers danced across a complex array of wires and circuits. His brow furrowed in concentration as he made minute adjustments to a malfunctioning atmospheric sensor.
Mind the power fluctuations, young one. Too much current, and you'll fry the entire grid.
Chewbacca growled softly in acknowledgement, his blue eyes never leaving the delicate components before him. With a final twist of his hydro spanner, the sensor sprang to life, its indicators glowing a healthy green.
Well done, Chewbacca. Your skills improve daily.
Pride swelled in Chewbacca's chest, but he tempered it with the humility expected of an apprentice. He rose to his full height, towering over his mentor despite his youth.
The sensor's range seems limited. I believe I could modify it to cover a wider area.
Always thinking ahead, aren't you? Very well, show me your ideas.
Chewbacca's eyes lit up as he retrieved a data pad from his tool belt. His fingers flew across the screen, bringing up schematics and calculations.
By reconfiguring the antenna array and boosting the signal strength, we could increase coverage by 30%.
Gracchus studied the plans, his expression a mixture of surprise and approval.
Ambitious, but not impossible. You have a gift, Chewbacca. Don't let it go to waste.
As they discussed the finer points of the modification, a commotion erupted below. Wookiees gathered around the base of the massive Russia tree, pointing and gesticulating wildly. Chewbacca and Gracchus peered over the edge of the platform.
By the ancestors, what's happening down there?
Chewbacca's keen eyes spotted the source of the disturbance. The irrigation system that fed the younger Russia saplings had failed, leaving the precious plants wilting in the harsh Kashyyyk sun.
The irrigation system, it's malfunctioned again. Well,
This is the third time this season. Our current design simply can't keep up with the demands of the new growth.
Chewbacca's mind raced, piecing together everything he had learned about Kashyyyk's ecosystems and the intricacies of their technology. An idea began to form, bold and unconventional, bold and unconventional.
What if we redesigned the entire system? Instead of fighting against the natural water cycle, we could work with it.
Explain.
We could create a network of condensers high in the canopy to capture moisture from the air, then use gravity-fed channels to distribute the water more efficiently.
Gracchus stroked his chin thoughtfully, considering the implications of such a radical change.
It's never been done before. The elders might resist such a departure from tradition.
But if it works, it could revolutionize our cultivation methods. We could expand our forests, grow more food.
The older Wookiee's eyes gleamed with a mixture of pride and excitement.
Very well, Chewbacca. Draft your proposal. We'll present it to the council at the next gathering.
Over the next few weeks, Chewbacca threw himself into the project with unbridled enthusiasm. He spent long nights in the archives, studying ancient texts on Kashyyyk's climate and hydrology. By day, he experimented with prototypes, testing different materials and configurations. As the day of the council meeting approached, Chewbacca found himself working late in the engineering bay. The room was a cacophony of whirring machinery and crackling energy fields. He was so engrossed in his work that he didn't notice the newcomer until a shadow fell across his workbench.
So this is where our resident genius hides himself.
Chewbacca looked up, startled. Before him stood Mala, a young Wookiee botanist he had often seen tending to the Russia nurseries. Her hair was a rich auburn, and her eyes sparkled with intelligence and curiosity.
Mala, I didn't hear you come in. What brings you to the engineering bay?
Word of your irrigation project has spread. I wanted to see it for myself.
Chewbacca felt a mix of pride and nervousness as he gestured to the complex array of pipes and condensers spread across his workbench.
It's still a work in progress, but the basic principle is sound. See, these condensers will capture moisture from the air, while these channels...
As Chewbacca explained the intricacies of his design, Mala listened intently, her eyes widening with each new detail.
This is incredible, Chewbacca. But have you considered the impact on the Russia's root systems? A sudden increase in water could destabilize the older trees.
Chewbacca's brow furrowed. He hadn't considered that aspect.
I hadn't thought of that. Would you be willing to help me refine the design? Your botanical knowledge would be invaluable.
I'd be honored. This project could change everything for Kashyyyk.
As the night wore on, Chewbacca and Mala lost themselves in discussion, their ideas flowing as freely as the water they hoped to harness. Chapter 3, The Roar of Discovery. Final Act. The verdant canopy of Kashyyyk's forest stretched endlessly, a sea of green punctuated by the towering Russia trees. In the depths of this arboreal expanse, hidden from prying eyes, stood a weathered spacecraft. Its hull, once gleaming, now bore the scars of time and neglect.
There you are, old girl. Let's see if we can't breathe some life back into you.
Chewbacca's massive paws moved with surprising delicacy over the ship's control panel. Wires sparked and systems hummed to life, responding to his touch as if awakening from a long slumber.
Chewie, are you sure about this? If the elders find out...
Her voice trailed off. Concern etched across her features. Chewbacca's eyes met his, a mix of determination and excitement swirling in their depths.
We've come too far to turn back now. This ship is our key to the stars, Mala. Our chance to see what's out there. Oh.
As if in response to his words, the ship's engines sputtered and roared to life. The forest floor trembled, leaves shaking loose from nearby branches. A grin spread across Chewbacca's face, a low, triumphant growl rumbling in his chest.
You did it. It actually works.
Their calibration was short-lived. A distant boom echoed through the forest, followed by an ominous creaking. The very air seemed to vibrate with tension.
What was that?
It came from the direction of the city. Something's wrong.
Without hesitation, Chewbacca powered down the ship and sprinted towards the source of the disturbance, Mala close on his heels. As they emerged from the dense underbrush, a horrifying sight greeted them. The main power core of their treetop city, usually a beacon of pulsing energy, now sputtered and flashed erratically. Arcs of electricity lashed out, scorching nearby structures. Wookiees scrambled in panic, their cries of alarm filling the air.
Those destabilizing. If it goes, it'll take half the city with it.
Chewbacca's mind raced, analyzing the situation with the speed and precision of the engineer he'd become. His gaze darted between the failing power core and the direction of the hidden spacecraft. Realization dawned, followed swiftly by a heart-wrenching decision.
Mala, I need you to gather as many people as you can and evacuate the area. I have an idea, but it's dangerous.
What are you going to do?
Something foolish, probably.
With a final lingering look at Mala, Chewbacca turned and raced back towards the hidden ship. His powerful legs ate up the distance, branches and vines whipping past him in a blur. Time seemed to stretch and compress, each second feeling like an eternity yet passing in the blink of an eye. Reaching the spacecraft, Chewbacca wasted no time. His hands flew over the controls, disconnecting the power cells with practiced ease. The weight of the cells strained even his Wookiee strength as he hoisted them onto his broad shoulders. The journey back to the city was a grueling test of endurance. Chewbacca's muscles burned, his breath coming in ragged gasps. But the thought of his people, of Mala, spurred him onward. As he approached the fading power core, chaos reigned. Wookiees rushed to and fro, some attempting repairs, others helping the injured. Through the pandemonium, Chewbacca spotted Mala, directing a group of younglings to safety.
Fella, I need your help.
She turned at the sound of his voice, eyes widening at the sight of the power cells he carried.
Are those from the ship? Chewie, what are you planning?
We're going to use these to stabilize the core. It's our only chance.
Together, they fought their way through the panicked crowd. The air crackled with energy, the hair on their bodies standing on end from the electrical discharge. As they reached the core, Chewbacca began to hook up the power cells, his movements swift and sure despite the danger.
It's too unstable. We need to reroute the power flow.
She darted to a nearby control panel, her fingers dancing over the keys. Suddenly, a violent surge rocked the platform. Mala lost her footing, tumbling towards the edge.
Ah, please, please.
His roar of anguish was drowned out by the sound of tearing metal. In a heartbeat, Chewbacca made his choice. He lunged for Mala, massive arms wrapping around her as they both fell. With inhuman strength, he twisted in midair, taking the brunt of the impact as they crashed through layers of branches. Pain exploded through Chewbacca's body, but he had no time to dwell on it. Gently laying Mala down, he scrambled back up to the core. With a final, desperate effort, he connected the power cells. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the erratic pulsing of the core began to stabilize. The arcs of wild energy receded, and a collective sigh of relief swept through the gathered Wookiees. But victory came at a terrible price. As the immediate danger passed, Chewbacca rushed back to where he had left Mala. Her breathing was shallow, her normally vibrant eyes dulled with pain.
Yeah, did we do it?
We did. You were amazing. Just hold on. Help is coming.
But even as the words left his mouth, Chewbacca could see the light fading from Mala's eyes. He held her close, a mournful howl rising from deep within his chest as she slipped away. Days passed in a blur of grief and reconstruction. The city slowly returned to normal, but for Chewbacca, nothing would ever be the same. He stood before the Wookiee Council, their words of praise and gratitude washing over him without truly registering.
For your bravery and ingenuity, we bestow upon you the title of Master Engineer. You have saved countless lives, Chewbacca, you.
As he accepted the honor, Chewbacca's gaze drifted skyward. A bittersweet roar escaped his throat, a sound of mourning for Mala, of pride in their shared achievement, and of an unquenchable longing for the cosmic adventures that had slipped through his fingers. The vast expanse of stars twinkled above, seeming to call out to him. In that moment, Chewbacca made a silent vow. He would honor Mala's memory by pursuing their shared dreams. Someday, somehow, he would find his way to those stars. And when he did, he would carry her spirit with him, always.